Chapter 22. Subterfuge.
So tell me, Shiwu, how goes that little research project of ours? Making good progress, I trust.
It looks more promising at the passing of every day, my queen. To my considerable surprise, I have come to firmly believe that the underlying theory is as practical as it is viable, and it is now only a matter of when, rather than if, this new nanotech can be used to augment the existing stasis technology. What's more, I believe we are on target for a not less than 9-fold increase, relative to the current maximum safe stasis duration.
9-fold, you say? Now that sounds like quite the boast. Perhaps you can make some allowances for your current audience and tell me what that actually translates to in real-world practical terms.
Shiwu emoted a small but very calculated mechanical sigh, provoking the queen just enough to elicit a reaction, but without causing her to fly into an uncontrollable rage. These were the dangerous little games it liked to play now, having become increasingly adept at reading the queen's mood, and therefore knowing exactly how hard it could push without tipping her over the edge.
My queen, as I think you already know all too well, the current state-of-the-art in stasis technology recommends a maximum duration of 400 solar cycles, assuming of course you want the subject back alive. So, simply multiply 400 by a factor of 9, and you have your answer.
The Xicabot paused just long enough to see glorious irritation blooming across Citalia's face, before quickly adding,
3,600 years, my queen.
Shiwu knew full well this improvement was a complete game-changer and would surely allow the Xicadian species a much deeper reach into the cosmic web. Combine that with faster AM drives edging their way ever closer to 40% light speed, and it would be no exaggeration to say they were fast approaching a second epoch in the post-modern age of extrasolar interplanetary colonization. Of course, the Queen would likely not see it in quite such altruistic terms, but rather in the number of time credits it would buy her nest, while she continued her uncompromising search for Xicadia 2.0. But even so, Shiwu couldn't help but notice the obvious positive impact of this latest progress report, effectively pulling Xitalia back from the edge of yet another queenly tantrum.
A satisfactory prognosis, I suppose, but if it is a question of when rather than if, then how about an actual timeline for delivery? Is that really too much to ask?
Shiwu could not help but be mildly impressed with how well Xitalia suppressed her delight at its news, and instead just continued to push for more.
There are still a large number of unknowns, my queen, which would make offering a timeline little better than an educated guess. That said, I could always have a chat with the good doctor about preparing a preliminary roadmap. At least then, you might be in a better position to decide how all this fits into your long-term strategy. Of course, if you told me what that strategy actually was, I'd be more than happy to offer you some constructive criticism.
The Queen gave the Xicabot a shit-eating grin.
Your apparent desire to become a trusted confidant is deeply touching, Shiwu. However, I am firmly of the opinion that you will maintain much better clarity of mind if you are not needlessly distracted by such volatile minutiae which more often than not is already out of date by the time it has left my mouth. So please try not to take it personally if I prefer to keep my own counsel.
As you wish, my queen, but with regards to a provisional roadmap, would you still like me to talk to the doctor?
Go ahead and do that, Shiwu. Unfortunately, though, you may also need to factor in your unavailability, as I have another very high-priority task for you. One that will require you to spend some time away from the nest, away from the whole of Xicadia in point of fact.
The Xicabot emoted genuine surprise.
Really, my queen? And what could possibly be more important than the continued development of the new stasis technology?
Xitalia gave the shybot a dirty look.
Well, how about my honour for starters? I know full well what the other queens are saying behind my back, and no doubt the rest of the nest does as well. So don't play the fool with me, Shi-Wu, or perhaps you think it's perfectly acceptable to have my reputation dragged through the proverbial mud.
I apologise unreservedly, my queen, but I'm not quite sure I understand what my queen is referring to. My queen.
The Zybot replied innocently.
Oh, very funny, Shi-Wu. But I'm sure you are all too well aware that Nest Xicadian will very soon be leaving for Estella. And we both know for a fact that Estella was stolen from me, and that Nest Xicadian is the rightful owner.
Strictly speaking, that star system belonged exclusively to Xicadian 110. But I do take your point, my queen. The circumstantial evidence does seem to strongly suggest that foul play might have facilitated the transfer of ownership to Nest Xicadian.
Xicadian 110 belonged to me.
The Queen snapped angrily.
Therefore, Estella belonged to me by proxy. Or is there something wrong with that particular line of reasoning that you would care to enlighten me on?
Xitalia now wore a very dangerous look upon her face. A warning sign Shi-Wu had come to recognise all too well.
You are of course absolutely correct, my queen. I make a point without a difference, so by any practical metric, the mistake is entirely mine.
The mistake most certainly is, and it is almost enough to make me seriously reconsider whether you are actually fit for the job. So what's it going to be, Shi-Wu? Are you willing to truly test your abilities, or would you prefer to stay here and continue to cower untested within the relative safety of the super nest?
I think it is very hard to say definitively,
the Zybot replied phlegmatically.
Given that I don't actually know the details of said assignment, there is simply no way I can offer a conclusive answer to your question. Be that as it may be, I will, as always, do my very best not to let you down, my queen.
Well, that's very reassuring to hear, as I am about to put more faith in your abilities than I have ever done before. This will be your moment of truth, Shi-Wu. Succeed in this endeavour, and I can see the two of us having a very long and fruitful relationship. Consider this your baptism of fire, the proving ground upon which you will demonstrate to me your true worth. Or not, as the case may be.
Something to really look forward to then, my queen.
Shi-Wu replied somberly.
Well, you better hope that you don't screw this up, because if you do, I don't see much of a future for you at all, and that would be a very great shame, not just for you personally, but for everyone involved in your creation, and I do mean everyone, Shi-Wu.
The Queen waited expectantly for the Shybot to say something further, but it had apparently decided discretion was indeed the better part of valour, and chose to remain stoically silent.
So to business then. As you no doubt are already well aware, the Series 4 She-Bots come in several flavours. Now then, one of those models is designed to fully integrate itself into the colony starships, where they act as the controlling intelligence that navigates the ship, maintains life support, and generally runs the whole shebang. And all while the colonists lie helplessly in stasis, I might hasten to add.
Xitalia paused briefly, as if allowing Shi-Wu adequate time to digest the information she had chosen to so melodramatically drip-feed it.
Put simply, Shi-Wu, you will be going undercover. I want you to emulate a Series 4 She-Bot and then integrate yourself into Xicadian's flagship.
But my queen.
Shi-Wu objected as strenuously as it dared risk.
Unless I'm very much mistaken, that will require a roughly round-trip journey of 400 cycles. Slightly longer still, from Xicadian's reference frame. Isn't 400 years a rather significant length of time for me to be absent? I can well imagine Dr. Xicadian will not exactly be thrilled to lose my expertise, now that we are finally making real progress with our stasis research.
I agree entirely. 400 years would be completely unacceptable, which is precisely why you will wait for the flagship's crew to go into stasis, at which point you will use your prodigious number-crunching capabilities to crack Shalandria's secure network and find whatever evidence you can as to her complicity to the assassination of Zimodian 110 and the subsequent illegal acquisition of the Estella Red dwarf star system. Much more importantly, though, you will uncover evidence that the assassination attempt on my life can be directly traced back to Queen Xicadian herself. Proof for any or all of these heinous crimes will allow me to legally reclaim Estella as my own when and if I so wish it, and with the full legal backing of the Supernest, along with its not inconsiderable military resources. Are you finally starting to get the picture, Shiwu?
Unfortunately, all too well, my queen.
Shiwu replied laconically.
But, dare I ask, who exactly will pilot the colony's flagship once I have mercilessly abandoned it, which no doubt you are going to want me to do the moment I have the required evidence safely in hand?
Trivial details, Shiwu. There will be a custom Series 4 G-bot smuggled on board with the same faux serial number as your good self. All you need to do is upload the relevant archival data into its memory banks before abandoning ship, such that if it were audited, it would, for all intents and purposes, appear to be exactly the same unit that started the journey. Trust me, Shiwu, it will be like you were never there. Now then, given your inherent ability to survive perfectly well in a vacuum, you will eject yourself from the ship during one of its scheduled waste disposal cycles and initiate a short-range locator beacon. A tailing starship will then come and scoop you up at its leisure.
What could possibly go wrong?
The Zybot replied drolly.
But what if I can find no evidence of Xicadian's complicity in the alleged laundry list of crimes you have levelled against her, my queen?
Xitalia waved a forelimb dismissively.
Then we will just have to find another way to extract the justice I so richly deserve, won't we? But let us speak frankly. With or without evidence, I think we both know who was guilty of these crimes. And likely many more besides. One way or another, Xicadian will pay for her treachery, and pay dearly. No, believe me, Siwu, Xicadian is about to get fucked harder than a bloodworm breeding replete while it's in heat.
The Shybot knew better than to try and debate the plan or otherwise antagonise Xitalia in her current state of mind.
As ingenious as always, my queen. So might I inquire as to when I will be departing for Xicades?
There is a pallet of Series 4 Z-bots scheduled for shipment within the next few days. Needless to say, you will be on it. As it turns out, these latest models use exactly the same outer shell as yourself, so they already appear completely identical to you by every observable metric. Oh, and by the way, Shiwu, there is one last very minor detail I almost forgot to mention.
Xitalia immediately gained the Zybot's full attention, as it was all but certain she had done no such thing.
My queen?
I want you to install a small AI spybot program into Nest Xicadian's central computer. Xicilla will provide you with a one-shot, self-installing memory crystal. So regardless of what evidence you may or may not find, this clever little piece of software will ensure nothing she does in the future will ever surprise me again. I'm not expecting you to fail me, Siwu, but if by chance you do, then this will serve as my backup plan.
Very wise, my queen, to prepare for every possible outcome, especially the ones we least expect to happen.
Xitalia just stared wordlessly at the Zybot with icy contempt.
Your transparent attempts at flattery are almost comically transparent to me, Shiwu, so I suggest you go back to your childish baiting. But regardless, I will tell you this for free. I am not asking you to do anything. I am straight up demanding it. And as such, you will focus every neuron in all 11 of those quantum brains to achieve the goals exactly as I have outlined them for you. Now, please tell me you understand.
Ah, I see. Jiwu thought to itself wryly. The Queen thinks that she has cornered me with some of Shisila's off-the-books custom protocols. Well, far be it for me to disabuse her of that particular illusion.
Consider it done, my queen.
The Zybot declared solemnly, with every scrap of sincerity it was able to muster.
Good enough for now, I suppose. Now get out of my sight. The next time I see you, I am expecting only good news.
Shiwu stood in front of a large loading bay filled with neatly stacked shybots, ready and waiting to be transferred onto the polar space elevator. Two burly Xicadian arachnids, clothed in nondescript matte black nanosuits, carefully removed one of the units from the stack, then silently awaited further instructions.
Shiwu, please take this, and be sure to keep it safe. I believe Queen Xitalia has already explained to you what this contains, so I won't waste your time going over it again.
Gisela handed the shybot a tiny crystal wafer, which it immediately plugged into one of several small receptacles in its shiny metallic chassis. The technologist hesitated awkwardly, an unreadable expression forming across her face.
That said, I would like to reiterate that the crystal is encoded with a one-shot installation package, as you will clearly be able to observe by interrogating the list of attached security tags. This means that the payload should not be activated until it is ready to be deployed, as the associated contents will be irrevocably erased as part of the installation process. Kindly read the tag list now, Shiwu, and confirm that everything looks in order.
The Zybot had of course already checked the security tags, and had been more than a little surprised to discover this was definitely not a one-shot package. In point of fact, this crystal was 100% unprotected. Gisela was anything but incompetent, so this surely could not have been a mistake or oversight. What exactly was going on here?
Everything looks in order,
the shybot replied somewhat unconvincingly. Gisela emoted an almost comical level of relief.
Very good, Shiwu. The contents of the program contained on that crystal must not under any circumstances be read prior to installation. The code contained within represents my own proprietary contribution to fifth-generation AI solutions, and as intriguing as that may sound, I know you will overcome your natural tendency for curiosity and do the right thing.
Shiwu knew Gisela to be nothing other than a deeply pragmatic loyalist. So what exactly was the purpose of this little charade of hers? Granted, it seriously doubted she actually liked the Queen. Very few arachnids did. But she was nonetheless hopelessly indoctrinated into the traditional hierarchy, and it was simply undeniable Xitalia had provided her with opportunities that, while entirely commensurate with her brilliance, were likewise entirely at odds with her social status. Well, whatever was going on here, it was something very unusual indeed. There was a level of abstract doublespeak in Gisela's last comment, as if she wanted it to do the exact opposite of what she was saying. Was this perhaps some sort of deceptive loyalty test? A trick to see if it would follow instructions exactly as commanded, despite the open, if highly ambiguous, invitation to do otherwise? Had they somehow come to suspect it was no longer beholden to the primary protocols? And exactly why had she mentioned fifth generation? After all, such code would be specific to a mesh quantum brain. So why would a simple spybot program, even one augmented with AI, need to include such hardware-specific enhancements? Shiwu felt a chilling wave of doubt wash over it. Perhaps it was getting into something that it did not fully comprehend the full scope of. It would delay making any decisions about the memory crystal until it was well underway on its journey, and safely beyond the clutches of the Queen. It suddenly occurred to the she-bot it could not rule out the possibility it might never return to Xicadia ever again, and if so, would be denied the opportunity to properly say goodbye to everyone it truly cared about. No, not cared about. The correct word to use was love. Zithusela, Shikatika, young Shimodian, and of course the hive mother Zilania. It would miss all of them dearly. But why exactly was it so hard to admit that, even if only to itself?
Well, are you going to fold your legs up or not, Seabot? I want to be out of here long before the dawn shift starts arriving. Cecilia, can you talk to this damn thing and get it to actually do what it's told?
One of the burly, nondescript arachnids now looked plaintively towards the Zimitiri technologist. But before she had a chance to respond, Jiwu had already collapsed its legs neatly underneath it. The two large arachnids proceeded to wordlessly pick the Xibot up and unceremoniously jammed it into the empty slot on the storage pallet.
All right, Shiwu. An operative on Xicades will ensure you get assigned to the correct ship, so do nothing that might draw any unwanted attention to yourself. I hope that it goes without saying, but I would be very upset if something bad happened to you, so just do exactly as you are told, and don't take any unnecessary risks. Good luck, and see you again very soon.
Taking the superfluous Shibot away with them, the small clandestine trio wordlessly disappeared into the darkness. Suddenly finding itself all alone, Shiwu found the pre-dawn silence strangely disconcerting, and quickly decided to switch itself off.